Okay.
Hello, Woman Up world. It is Friday. It is Fierce Female Friday. And I have a fierce female for you to meet today. Oh my goodness. Before we get into the conversation, you know how it goes. We want to know where you are watching from today. Are you by a lake, by the ocean, in the mountains, in a fort that your kids made in the backyard, hiding from them today? Where are you? It always helps us to visually see where you are. And of course, it's fun to engage on where we are all watching from. So let us know in the comments below. Also, feel free to let us know that you can see and hear us, because it's always good to know that we're seen and heard. We have a fun conversation scheduled for you today. I have a couple of Woman Up updates. As you can see, Sarah and Leslie are not here because they are in budget meetings this week. We are so grateful for them and all that they do to make sure that the programs like Woman Up continue into 2021. So we're sending you our love, Leslie and Sarah. So the things that are happening in the Woman Up world, one is, of course, the event is coming. The virtual event is coming. We are going virtual. Yes, if you haven't heard, we're going virtual, and we are going to have our own Woman Up World private island designed just for us on the Verbella platform. So if you missed our live tour that we did on Wednesday at 2 o'clock inside the world, I'll drop a link to that, or of course you could just go back to the feed and scroll. We walked around. I showed you through my avatar. There were wave makers there. We had a little dance party. Just to help you see what we have in store for you. We, as you know, if you've been part of this community for any length of time, we love to do things differently around here. We love to create memorable moments for you. We love to, well, let's just be real. We want to be the most memorable event in 2020. So we have this amazing space planned for you. And so get your tickets. They're $59 for 3-day passes. It is amazing. We're also going to be talking about a way for those of you who are like, $59 is not even in my budget. Like, I have cut way back. We're going to be talking about the Woman Up Scholarship. So stay tuned for details on that. Also, if you already got your tickets, the swag shop is open. We designed an entire line of Woman Up 2020 virtual experience swag. This is absolutely limited edition because it says 2020 virtual experience on it. So if you're attending or not attending, doesn't matter. You can rep the Woman Up virtual swag. There's t-shirt options, there's baseball caps, there's mugs, there's a button for those of you who, like me, are 80s children and love your button collections. And we have a fun, I think there's actually four different versions of the journal this time. So the dot type, the checklist type, the line type, and the blank type. So all sorts of really fun options for you to, as you can tell the theme here, enjoy it from the waist up, selfie photos only, at the virtual event. So head in and check that out. And then last but not least, the virtual wine tasting. Tickets were released yesterday. Well, actually, they were released on Wednesday. Why does it feel like every day is like a year these days? So if you go to iamwomanup.com/2020-wine, you'll find all the information. The Mondavi sisters are joining us. Alicia's coming back and she's bringing her sister, Angelina, who is the actual wine maker. We are tasting 2 of their spectacular wines this year. And you're probably wondering, how do you taste wine virtually? Well, for those of you who want to participate and have the wine in front of you that they're drinking and tasting with us, they put together a screaming deal, $99 for their wines to be delivered to your door. So you can open those, you can enjoy them with the wine lovers in your home, or you can keep them for yourself, whatever you want to do. But you have the opportunity. There's only 50 kits though. There's only 50 of the $99 kits. So if you are a wine lover, snag your kit. Now, you do have to have purchased a ticket to the Woman Up conference in order to A, attend the virtual wine tasting, and B, get the $99 kit. So that has to come first. And we are checking because we know it's a screaming deal. Okay, so without further ado, I am excited to introduce, well, sort of introduce our guest today. Many of you know Brenda. Now, normally at this point is when I read their bio. Although Brenda is a bit rogue. And, well, she doesn't have a formal bio. So she is going to share with you who she is and how she introduces herself. So welcome, Rogue Brenda.
Happy Friday. I'm Brenda Meyer. I own a real estate company in the San Bernardino Mountains, and I'm the broker. I've owned it since 2007, and it's a very small office. And I was encouraged or dared to get my real estate license back in 2005. I'll explain a little bit more about that, but I am a broker, company owner, and a director for C.A.R. and the 2020 director or chairperson for the Scholarship and Education Foundation.
So you are the lovely leader behind one of the big things we're going to be talking about today, which is the scholarship. I'm very, very excited about that. And I know that there are people who were invited to join us to watch this today to learn about the scholarship. So, but before we get to that, we've got some fun questions for Brenda so that we can get to know kind of the behind the scenes of this amazing lead. So are you ready, Brenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Ask away.
So the first question we have for you today is about the first business you ever started or owned. What was it?
I owned a dance studio, and actually I owned more than one, but it was something that I started. I started dancing when I was a kid and started teaching when I was a teenager. And when I moved up to the mountains, my kids were really little, and there was a need in my community, and opened up a dance studio and taught everything from tap, jazz, ballet, hip hop, a little bit modern. Polynesian was actually one of my favorites. So yeah.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, it was a blast. We had one or two shows a year, and it was the starting point of how I got here. And it's a really interesting interesting thing. I mentioned the dare to get my real estate license, and that was while I had my studio. And it was a broker said, I think that you'd be a really good agent. And it's like, yeah. Took me a year to actually take him seriously. And I finally did it and kind of crammed for it all in a matter of a couple of months, passed my test. And I was an agent for a couple of years. And it was a very big challenge back in 2005 and 6 when I had my studio, as well as having my license. And it was a very busy time.
I was just going to say, that was like everyone was bidding and buying real estate. Yes. Everyone had all this money was flowing. It was like the dollars were flying everywhere back then.
It was insane. It was insane. There was no time to sleep. And I remember the epiphany I had when I had a client that was ready to sign their paperwork to purchase a house. And I said, well, meet me at my dance studio. I'll finish class at around 9 o'clock. If that's not too late. Oh no, that's fine. And he shows up at my class. And I remember as I'm teaching a Polynesian class, and you can imagine what we were doing, and it's a lot of hip movement and everything. And he's watching, and I'm like, this is not comfortable anymore. So that was my moment that I had to choose one or the other. There was just not enough hours in the day to do both.
Isn't that interesting that your intuition was like, yeah, time to make a choice, Brenda. Uh, I can imagine he was probably very entertained.
He was.
Um,
We actually joked about it. He's a good sport.
yeah, the hula-ing realtor. Yeah,
Yeah.
that probably not. I mean, there's probably somebody out there who has that gig. Maybe in
Yeah.
Hawaii.
My license plate was hula girl for a lot of years.
Oh,
So
I love
yeah.
that. I've always had this like I actually right now I'm doing belly dancing.
Mhm.
So obviously it's virtual right now, but I love that kind of feminine energy kind of dancing, right, where you're like tapping into the power of fire in your belly. So
Yes.
I think that's fantastic. I love that. I'd love to if you have recommendations of like online like YouTubers who teach kind of hula basics. It's this is the time
Yeah.
to add things like that into our lives, right? Where we aren't going to the gym, or hopefully we're not going to the gym. Um, it's fun and it's a solo activity. You don't need another person.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get those recommendations from you in the stream. So okay, so dance studio owner and instructor. How about the first leadership role you ever had? Like think back, and so in life, we'll do life and then we'll do real estate.
Okay.
Okay.
In life, that's an interesting question because I was a shy kid. I was a very shy kid, wallflower. The way that I put myself out there was on stage when I performed and when I was in competition. Um, as a teenager, I have several degrees from the Royal Academy of Ballet, but I was not the right type to become a prima ballerina, much to my grandmother's disappointment.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it was a trajectory that I was supposed to take, and I didn't. And it
Okay.
was something, honestly, that kind of developed into who I am today. I made a choice, becoming this person that was no longer a wallflower, and I wanted to teach. I wanted to teach others what I loved, what I was passionate about, and make them as good as I was or was becoming. And that was important for me. Uh, Teaching, it was all about understanding where someone else's uh, challenges were and teaching to that person in those ways to overcome those challenges. And I still do that today. So,
I love that. Well, and something that you said, that you were a shy kid
mhm.
and yet you found your voice, if you will, on stage. That is incredibly common amongst leaders. And leaders who veer towards shy and leaders who are introverts. Most people get those mixed up because an introvert doesn't necessarily mean shy. It just means, they prefer their own company and to recharge in their own company. They're not filled by being in a room full of people, right? They're depleted from that. So, but there's so many of like top leaders, CEOs, presidents, and a lot of Hollywood celebrities say the same thing, right? And so I love how you honed that skill, right? You said, okay, I need a outlet, or maybe your soul or your intuition knew, like, all right, got to do something.
Yep. Yep. And it's find the right path.
Yes.
And there's definitely times that, you can choose the wrong path. As long as you recognize that in yourself, that you're not happy, it's not bringing you joy, then you can realign. And that's important too. Knowing when you've taken a wrong step. That's just as important as taking the right step sometimes, because
Yes.
now you know the difference. That's your education. That's your way of not repeating it and
So
trusting that intuition. That's so important.
so good. So good. Christy Sorrells is here and she's saying Brenda is definitely a born leader and teacher. Thank you for leaving that in there. Here's the interesting thing is you were a shy kid, you got into dancing and you found your voice and expressive side on the stage. Then you opened a dance studio, multiple, studios along the way. Then you found real estate.
Mhm.
And now, like, you are a queen of so many projects and initiatives inside the real estate space. So let's
Yeah.
kind of give maybe a 5,000 level view of what you've done, kind of the leadership roles and stuff inside the real estate space, because you've been part of a lot of different things.
Yes. On the real estate side, I started working with my local MLS. It intrigued me how people were managing it, what choices that they were empowered to make for others.
Mm,
And what fascinated me then and still fascinates me now is how those choices, how we integrate the needs of others, how
mm,
we reach out to those people, how we find out what their dissatisfaction is, what their sticking points are, and integrate that into the next level of change. So that started locally in my community, and then we made a decision. It was either raise everybody's dues and grow the MLS, or align with another MLS, and ended up being the East Valley Association of Realtors.
okay.
And we partnered with them, and uh, I ended up becoming a liaison to their board for our mountain area, which was an awesome thing. And during that time, I became a regular board member and moved up into becoming president in 2014 for the East Valley Association of Realtors. Yes.
Woman up,
And
woman up.
yep, I was on the board for quite some time. I stepped off when I thought and saw other people give them an opportunity to take my seat. Um, I ended up coming back, going back into 2021. Somebody else took my seat. There was another opportunity that I was asked to come back by someone that I trust and respect. And I will always put in my effort and energy into whatever is necessary whenever somebody needs me.
Mm.
I was chair of our local MLS committee for many, many years, and that transitioned into a directorship on the C.A.R. MLS board, which I am finishing my 5th year. And
Wow.
I have been uh, treasurer and vice chair for the last couple of years for CRMLS. And next year, we'll see where it takes me.
I love it. Well, and I love that you were, I'm not exactly sure what you're saying when you were saying you were intrigued by how things were run. I can only imagine, because of course I have an MLS here too.
Mhm.
And it is an interesting space, right? I mean, I was in real estate in 2002, and our MLS, I think, was run on something a step above DOS. So, so for those of you who don't know what DOS is, Google it, and it'll make sense. But I love that it wasn't just I always feel like when people are complaining about how things are done,
Ooh.
that's their call to
Mhm.
take action and to step into leadership. Because when something is so irritating to you, or when something is so compelling to you, or something is so attractive to you that you want to fix it, like, you got to do it. So I really appreciate that side of your leadership story. That's, so what is out there that you want to make better? What is it? There's something, everyone who's listening has something that they're like, oh, that's me. I kind of complain about that.
And that's interesting that you should say that. And I used to tell my kids, I have 4, 3 girls are the oldest, and then my son, all adults.
Go, mom.
Yeah, living wonderful lives, very successful, and my daughters are fierce. They learn that, independence is a good thing, and be strong in yourself. Uh, but beyond that, I used to hear, as teenagers, they would complain about something. And I said, I hear you complain about this all the time, but I don't see you doing anything.
Yeah.
I said,
Finish that sentence.
yeah. I said, you see me, going out there, and whether it's involved with the chamber, I was chamber president up here and treasurer and all that. And I used to drag my kids around, and they were part of every activity in our community. They learned right up front that if you're going to complain, you better step up, be willing to step up, speak out,
Yeah.
and back it up.
Yeah.
And
Love it.
for me, it became bettering our industry, listening to our realtor community, and really listening to what they need, what they're complaining about, what their frustrations are, and how, in whatever way that we have the power to do, how we can help, how we can make that better and easier.
Beautiful. There's some of these comments. I before we go into your journey, I want to read you some of these things because people are saying things about you. So Nancy Joe says she's an amazing teacher and boss. Eileen, Green Eileen, says thrilled to see Brenda here today. She's so passionate about our industry and always speaks her mind.
Mhm.
And then Lynette, our Lynette. Brenda is amazing to work with. We are blessed to have her lead the Scholarship and Education Foundations. Go, Brenda. Team Scholarship. It's her hashtag. Isn't that great? I love it. And Eileen's kind of shouting an amen and a hallelujah out there saying, if you're going to come to me with a problem, you better have a solution.
Mhm.
Or else you're just wasting my time. I can totally hear her saying this too. And I can imagine the two of you are fire when you're together.
Come to the table ready to talk, ready to work it out.
Yes, I think that's so great. So let's dig in a bit into your journey, into your role as a brokerage owner and a leader. I know that you are an overcomer. Let's just be real, Lioness. You are an overcomer. So I'm going to sit back, and I feel like I'm getting ready to be, hear the epic tale of Brenda's journey. So please share.
Real estate was something that I was part of long before I had my license. I met my husband through a realtor, and it was a very interesting story. I was going through a divorce and was swearing off relationships, wasn't interested, had tried dating, but dating with two little ones is really difficult. For anybody who's done it, they know. And I was just done. I was going to focus on my kids, focus on my work. I was just, going to go this route. And my neighbors, who I was very, very close to, decided to move. They put up their house for sale, and they moved. So I was kind of brokenhearted. But we live in such a small little community that, when we had an earthquake, we'd all stand out on our steps and yell to each other around the community, "Hey, you okay?" And everybody would yell back. So it's very, very small.
Yeah.
And I was going out because I was taking a management class on Saturdays, and I was getting ready to drop the kids off at the babysitter, and I saw my neighbor, and she stopped me, and we're talking car to car, and she says, "Oh my gosh, did you see that this single guy bought the house next to you?" And I said, "No, I haven't met him." "Oh no, you have to meet him. He's got two girls. He's really good looking." And I said, yeah, okay, maybe. And I went on, and I went to the babysitter, and then she brought it up, and she says, "Yeah, I hear that some young guy, bought the house next to you." And I'm like, "You too? Really?" And come to find out,
It's really, really good looking.
yeah, come to find out, between my babysitter, my friend, my neighbor, and the realtor, they were all conspiring.
Oh.
And they were conspiring both on my side as well as his. And he was hearing it from the realtor, and he heard things about, "Oh my gosh, when you meet the neighbor, you're gonna fall in love." And he's like, "Yeah, no, I lost my wife a couple years ago. I'm not looking for that." And they're all talking to us, and finally I get a call one afternoon. I just put the kids down for a nap and I'm barefoot, ripped jeans, very little makeup, cleaning the house, like you do on a Saturday. And I get this call and it's like, oh my gosh, he's out there. He's out there with his realtor. You've got to go look. And I said, really, look, I'll take out the trash. I'll take a peek. I'll call you back. It's one of those. And I barely get to the door, and the door, there's a knock at the door, and I open it, and there's this tall little teenager, this 13-year-old girl. And she says, hi, I'm your new neighbor. You've got to meet my dad. And she grabs my arm. I'm like, honey, hold on. And I'm walking over to the house, and I remember I saw his blue eyes, and everything else was just, it didn't matter. For the next 30 days of escrow, we made every excuse in the world to see each other. And we started a relationship pretty quickly. And we moved in together, found another house because neither one of ours fit our family of 6 at that point. And the realtor found us another house that had 5 bedrooms, and the rest was history at that point. So a realtor brought us together.
Wow.
She actually put it on her business card that she's also a matchmaker.
Oh, of course she did.
But it was fun. It was fun. We had a really, really good time. Raising 4 kids, blended families, no picnic. I'll be honest, being in and out of counseling just so that we could survive and keep our own sanity was very helpful. But knowing that, knowing in back in 2000, well, I'll just say I was 43, and knowing that he had lost his first wife to cancer, I remember I was in a meeting. It was a planning meeting locally that we were doing an event for the community to reach out to a lot of our third-party vendors, home inspectors and lenders and things like that. We were putting them together with the consumers in the community. And I got a call. I remember really clearly. I got a call from my doctor, and I stepped out from the meeting, and he told me, he says, I'm so sorry. I got your results back and you have breast cancer.
Ugh.
And I don't fall apart right away. It takes a little time to absorb, and everybody's different. Yeah. But I went back into my meeting. I finished my meeting, and I insisted on driving to my doctor's office so I could actually get a copy of the results. And I had my moment in the car, the heavy hot tears, and in that moment, you make some decisions that are just critical. And for me, my decisions that I needed to get a grip on what this disease was, how it was affecting me, and how I was going to handle it. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I decided not to tell anybody until I could get a grip on what this was going to do. So for the next 30 days, I kept it to myself. My doctor, the nurses knew. I went through several different testing. I was on vacation at one point, and trying to keep it from my husband was just horrible. And I knew he was going to be mad. But one Friday afternoon, about 30 days after I originally got the news, I told him, I said, hey, I let's go out. And he thought I was taking him to dinner. And I pulled over, and we have a lake basically right outside our door almost. And pulled over and sat at the lake, and I said, I've got to talk to you. And he says, okay, what's wrong? And I said, I don't know how to tell you this. And I thought I never would, but I need you to take a day off work because I need you to take me in for surgery.
Oh.
And he was immediately, upset, and all the emotions, everything, you give somebody that kind of information and they're just overwhelmed with everything, all emotions, all at the same time. And he was my rock all the way through. over 2 years, 7 surgeries later, I,
Wow.
yeah, came through it. Um, there was a lot to deal with. And I will say that, you're some days you're strong and some days you aren't.
Yeah.
And you have your moments that you cry and scream in front of the mirror, and you remember that you are not immune to this. Everybody has their moment.
Yeah.
And there is never a time that I asked, why me? It was always, why not me?
Mm. Wow.
So it became kind of a thing that I turned into an advocate for other people. Going through what I did, yeah, I made some decisions that wouldn't be right for everybody, and a double mastectomy and the whole, 9 yards. But I have I have been there for other women, held their hands inside doctors' offices, talked with them for hours on the phone, still do. And anything that I can do to help another woman through something like that, I'm more than happy to share my story, be there to hear them and share their story, but just be a sounding board sometimes. So,
Well, and you're doing this is the beauty of women.
mhm.
And this is why I love surrounding myself with strong women, because you're going through this is a personal battle that you are going through. You are like waging war against the C word, and you're making these big decisions. You've got an amazing partner who walks alongside of you through this season, and you're raising 4 teenagers.
Yeah.
Like, and then you're in your community leading. And then like all of the other things that you're doing. And on top of all that, you're like, why not me? Like, how am I gonna leverage living my testimony out loud so that others see you can do this?
There
So beautiful.
was there was a website that I referred to quite a bit, and it was Breast Cancer Foundation, that had an amazing interactive, chat board and messages, and just followed that. That was my kickoff point for information for me. And then they had a private room that women were sharing pictures of themselves. And I swear I could not find anything. And the one fear that women have, especially about breast cancer, is I know what I am in this moment, what I'm feeling, what I'm expecting in this moment, and maybe the next step, but I don't know where this leads to. What is this going to look like?
Yeah.
And just very, very personally, the one thing that I promised that I would do is, at the end, I would share the entire story from beginning to end in pictures. It was a very private site that was protected
Sure.
for women that were, vetted, and, things like that. So you couldn't just, it wasn't just anybody could get in. But every time I had a surgery, every time I had a procedure, you
Oh,
have those moments, and you take that picture in the mirror of what the latest scars are, what the latest, you know, disfigurement or whatever it happens to be. And you look at yourself in a different way and hope to God that it turns out better than what it is in that moment. And
yeah.
it's something that I received after I posted it. I received so many positive responses back. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Of this is what I'm expecting. Now I know. Now I know what it looks like, what it will be. Yeah, it's really ugly sometimes,
Yeah.
but I know now. And I appreciate you putting yourself out there so that you can show me what what I can what this will end up being.
Right.
And not everybody has, not everybody has reconstruction. Not everybody wants that. And I think everybody should celebrate their choice,
Yes.
because everybody's choice is personal. Everybody's choice is for their own story.
Right.
And they own it, they live it, and they should celebrate it.
Mm. Well, I think what I find so profound about what you're saying is that I feel like we all walk all aspects of our life with that same need.
Mhm.
Like we all kind of want a little bit of a crystal ball, right? Which is why we tend to seek out mentors or sages in our lives to kind of help us see, like, what would tomorrow be if I made this choice or that choice. Like we always kind of want to have a little bit of an idea, and also see that some choices are possible. And I think for women in particular, our breasts are such a huge part of how society defines our femininity, and not knowing what that could or could not look like, I can imagine is I never have even thought about that, Brenda. Like that aspect alone, it just, I feel like, whew, I want to bawl my eyes out. And how beautiful it is that you were like, all right, I use the term open the kimono, like you actually opened the kimono here. Thank you. Thank you for
Being
that.
a shy person, that was not easy, but knowing that
Yeah.
the purpose was the beneficial part for another person. If
Mm,
I could help one person go through it,
yeah.
that made it all worthwhile.
Mhm.
But you mentioned something about, you know, there was a time after the mastectomy that I was flat chested, and it was horrible, absolutely horrible for me personally, because I was used to, I wasn't small chested to begin with, but I was used to actually wearing clothing that kind of accentuated that. And clothing is not designed for women that, are not necessarily thin, but are not, it's not designed for women that are flat. And
Right.
nothing fit. I was constantly looking around for anything that was ruffled just to give me a little bit of volume there. And
Wow.
it's very, very difficult. Talk about self-conscious. That was one of my most self-conscious moments. And it wasn't even about, the pain that goes along with that. There was a lot of it. Every time you go into something like that, you're going to feel, pain that you probably, childbirth couldn't even come close on some of these. But it was that moment that it's like, I don't want to be flat. I don't want to be flat chested. I want to feel like a woman.
Mhm.
And for me, that meant the reconstruction, the going through it, and actually kind of rebuilding myself
Yeah.
in a matter of speaking, both
Like
figuratively.
literally and
Yeah.
figuratively. Yeah. That's so amazing. Well, and I know that, you've mentioned a couple of times that your husband, the blue-eyed husband who moved in next door. I love the story. The story is so good. That like even this person that you've had this deep relationship with, you kept it to yourself for 30 days.
Yeah.
And I think that there's power in that, right? Like you have we're not required to tell anyone anything until we're ready.
Yes.
And I think that it's a great reminder. We're keeping things to ourselves. I mean, unless it's festering and causing you to get ill, there's beauty in keeping things for yourself and working through it for yourself. How is the healing process? What did that look like for the two of you on the other side of all of that?
So he understood why I kept it to myself. My kids didn't. Um, there was definitely a time that there was a lot of anger, and I had to explain to them, from my perspective, I was always the caregiver. I was always the one that made things better, fixed things. I was the person in the household that kept all the schedules, kept everything going, kept everything organized. And when it came to me being broken, how does anybody else deal with that unless I gave some reassurance of how that was going to get fixed? That's
Mm,
why it needed to come from me, that I was going to make sure that everything was going to be okay. This was the path that I was going to be on. This is what was to be expected. And this is the destination that hopefully we'll get to. But without knowing all those facts, I couldn't give that to my husband or my kids.
Yeah.
My husband understood. He was amazing. He was there for every test after that. And even as weird as I am when it comes to, surgery, and I'm talking technical with the doctors and the nurses and,
Yes.
beyond what a patient normally would.
Of
And
course.
he's just right there. He's like, okay, yeah, that's my wife. And
Cancer. Like, how do you respond to that? Right. So I love this. That's such great advice.
every day when I talk to my friends and people that I know that are going through it, it becomes not just, ooh, how, you try, how was your day? How are you managing? Is there anything I can do for you? Is there an essential oil for that? Something that I can, kind of offer. But it's true. You kind of have to look at things with laughter, but respect the person that is going through it, because some days they want to laugh and some days they just want to rage, and both are perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
You
so,
kind of have
so
to roll
true.
with it.
Well, and I think that, what I'm hearing in all of these stories is challenge, overcome,
Mhm.
challenge, overcome. And so where are you today in that on your journey?
Yeah, just when you think you had it good, um, we had, gosh, I stopped chemo drugs after 4 years, and I thought, oh, I can stop losing my hair, um, and try to get it back a little bit. And my husband and I were on this mission at that point. We had an empty nest, and I'm a mom that says, I love you. Go out and conquer the world. I'll be here on the phone if you need me, but
Let go.
go out, yeah, get it done. And I'll be your sounding board, and whatever you need. And my girls were out there, loving life. And my son, he just, went in both feet. And my husband and I are like, now what? This is kind of cool. And we started traveling more, and we would travel and we would snorkel, and probably, I think I was on year 7 being cancer free. We had a great year, snorkeling all different islands of the Caribbean and scuba diving in Mexico, and just through the Great Barrier Reef. Just amazing stuff.
Wow.
Amazing stuff. Really enjoying life and building the business, and just absolutely enjoying every day that was given to us. And I remember back in 2018, one of our favorite places was Monterey. And we had just finished winter meetings for C.A.R. And my husband flew up, and we were going to make a weekend out of it. And it was, love, love the area, love the water, just a magical place. And I noticed on a Saturday night, I looked at him and I said, there's something wrong. He says, what do you mean? I said, your eyes, there's something wrong. I said, the whites of your eyes are yellow. I said, I need you to go to the doctor on Monday. When we get back, when we fly back, you got to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And he had been having, chest pain kind of thing for a couple of months, had been seeing the doctor, and it wasn't, that wasn't anything heart that they could determine. And he's like, the good nagging wife, pushing him off to the doctor to make sure he went. And then he called me and he said, the doctor told me I needed to go to emergency. I said, why? He says, I don't know. And it's our local hospital, so it's small.
Mm-hmm.
And they did all these tests, and they said, we can't treat you here. You need to go to a larger hospital down the hill. And he says, well, can I drive myself? And they said, no. And
What?
well, can I wait for my wife? No, you need to go in an ambulance. And they took him by ambulance, and he's telling me this. And it's one of those moments where your brain goes 50 million different directions and you don't know what the next step is. And you just try to focus on that moment of
Yeah.
what you need to do. And that became 4 months of that feeling. The next 4 months, um, he was admitted that night for the next 3 weeks. And they found after the first week, they found a rare intestinal cancer
Oh my goodness.
and major surgery. I became his caregiver for that period of time. He was hospitalized 2 more times until we actually finally went through last ditch effort, one surgery. And I remember the surgeon called me over and he said, we tried and we just had to close him back up.
Oh
It's
my
too aggressive. And the girls had stepped out of the room and he looked at me and he said, "This is it, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I want to go home." So we moved heaven and earth. And the next afternoon, he was released to go home. And the house turned into a hospital. And all of these people and nurses and equipment. And, I felt like MacGyver with some of his machinery because it wasn't designed to be used at home in this way to help him. And we made it work.
Yeah, but you made it work.
We made it work.
Yes.
And the doctor had said when they sent him home that he would have maybe 2 weeks to a month. And I told him, I said, we don't have that kind of time. I said, I know you when you've gotten to this point. This is going to be fast. And we spent the next 5 days meeting with our pastor, planning his service. He wanted celebration and rock and roll and music and just things that were very special to him.
Sure, yeah.
And on a Friday, he had asked for a handful of very special people that he wanted to see. And his mom was here. She had flown in to help before. She had been here for a while. And our daughters were here and they helped bring people in that he wanted to see. One person would be in with the friend with him. And we would be talking with somebody else who's kind of in the waiting room almost waiting to go in. And we did that all day on a Friday. And, regardless of what we were going through, we still found moments to laugh and laugh over memories and laugh over silly things. And, oh, that's just like dad, or that's a dadism, or, things like that. And I remember after that day, he had kind of resigned himself that he was done. And on a Sunday morning, it was 5 days after his surgery, he woke up and we started seeing signs that this was it. And we called the family in and his friends, and he was surrounded by all the people that he loved and that loved him. And he made his final goodbyes. And that was it. That was in May 20th of 2018. And at that point, we planned his service. And the day after his service, my body gave out. And I was in bed for 3 days. And I remember that the stress of everything going through that when he was in the hospital, taking meetings in his bathroom so I could have some privacy, or talking on the phone during a board meeting, walking up and down the halls. Um, it was a challenge, but it was never anything that I thought of for myself, because I needed to be there for him. And that's what you do. And I'd heard over and over again, oh, you're so strong, you're so brave. But looking back on it, you absolutely don't know what you're capable of until you're challenged with it. And being brave is not necessarily a choice. It's just something that is within you, and you find the courage for the ones that you love. That's it. So,
wow. Well, there's all sorts of love for you in the stream, virtual hugs and love. And I think I can speak for everyone saying we're all giving you a virtual hug right now. So amazed and inspired by your story. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, there is such a beautiful divine connection we share with each other when we really understand our stories.
mm-hmm.
And there is a certain type of brave that is required to share a story. And in particular, the layers of your story, Brenda. Like, and so I know that it might seem like, okay, that I'm simply telling my story. Well, you're actually healing people through your words. You're encouraging people through your words. And it's been an honor to share this time with you for sure. Wow, wow, wow. So um,
there's a lot of positive with that.
yeah.
I know that I came through it really, really well. I did a lot of self-care afterwards, and I found my peace and salvation, so to speak, and started running. And I wasn't necessarily a runner before, but I started running marathons, and I did have plans for my first marathon the following year, but I ended up running 3 that same year. And I remember completing my first one, and the overwhelming emotion just to be able to say, wow, I did this for myself. And coming through, whether it's cancer or death or whatever it happens to be, we as a society are going through so much anxiety. We forget that we need to celebrate those little things, little,
Yes.
small, big, whatever it happens to be. That is what gives us strength to go on and do bigger things. So I am a big believer in celebrate the small stuff, because it leads to so many bigger things.
Absolutely. And not being afraid to ask for help, even with the small stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is a great segue into us talking about this program that you are leading at C.A.R, the Scholarship and Education Foundation. And you're doing lots of things. It's not only for WomanUP. Right. So why don't you give kind of a highlight of the project you're working on, and then share with us about the 80 scholarships that are available to attend WomanUP this year.
So we have been working with WomanUP for the past 3 years, and our committee was so inspired. It's such a wonderful program, and just to be able to have our involvement to be able to help more women attend, because we see the value of it. Being there live last year, just an enormous outpouring of support and love and encouragement from everywhere. And we don't get that. It's very, very different from conventions, and you pick up a piece of information that you'll use in your business or whatever. This is more emotionally supportive and encouraging, to the point that we really want to help. And the Education Foundation has been promoting other scholarships. We have sent people to mentorship programs and the Woman Up Scholarship. And we're offering scholarships and grants right now to the Association of Realtors that they have for helping their members as well. So this particular program is something near and dear to all of us. And I know that there are several people on the call right now that have helped with this program to get it going. And we're so proud of being able to offer 80 scholarships to women that you apply online. And I know that you guys have been fabulous with helping get our message out. The application is on iamwomanup.com/info. It is down there. You click on for more info and it will link to the application. And we can put the other links direct for the C.A.R. link if you'd like.
I just dropped it in.
Oh, good.
That way or that way, whichever way it looks when you're watching this.
But we're offering our own working in collaboration. We're offering the swag bag as well, and a little special something for everybody that applies and is able to get in on this. I know that we sent 15 people to Coronado last year, and we were overwhelmed with the response from the people that we sent, and the people that we knew that were just going, our friends and colleagues. Just the feedback that we got was just phenomenal.
Do you remember when we had them all stand up? Like,
yes.
it was like goosebumps.
It was amazing.
You're like, look at all these. It's amazing.
And they every single one of them got something just so special out of it. And I've seen them online, and they've grown and they've moved forward and they have overcome. And it is absolutely just an amazing thing to be able to help other women experience this and to learn for themselves how valuable this is and how uplifting this is.
Well, and when we had our kind of the pre-call a few months ago, one of the beautiful silver linings of COVID and the pandemic and SIP is that we did go virtual, and that means our exposure expands.
Yes.
And our reach expands. So last year in person, the budget allows for basically 15 people to attend because of the cost. This year, 80 people can attend.
Amazing.
And for those of you, again, who didn't catch the live tour, the environment that we're in is not Zoom. It is not like what we're doing here. It actually, you can have one-on-one conversations at little bistro chairs on a beach, underneath the trees in the forest, at the top of the expo building. I mean, you'll be able to do the networking. And we have women who are brave, like Brenda, who will come in through their avatar and sit in front of all of the souls that are sitting in their avatars and share their stories and come together. It's like the virtual campfire, right? Where we're saying, I have a story that I believe is going to inspire you. And similar to the feelings that I'm seeing inside the chat today, Brenda, the ability for us to really connect at that heart level and then talk about, here's how you can take action. The simple thing of pop a card in the mail that makes someone laugh when they're going through something. Things like you will have a journal full of take action ideas. And so if somebody wants to sign up for it, they can of course click the links and fill it out for themselves. But we were actually talking about inspiring others to write a list of 2 or 3 women. Men are allowed to come too, and they're very encouraged. So this isn't women only. Let's be very clear about this. This is humans who want to attend, to write down a few people that you think, I see leadership potential in them. And WomanUP might not even be on their radar, right? So what's the easy, how do you suggest? Do you want them to send the link to them? What's the easiest way for us to inspire others to see themselves in the scholarship?
So it's interesting that you should say that, because I was talking with an agent out in San Diego, and we were talking about, I said, oh, have you ever, out in Coronado, we did the thing with Woman Up. Oh yeah, I heard that from so and so. And I said, oh, I need to send you the link because we're doing the scholarship. You need to attend. You would love this. And just reach out to people and say, I really think that you would enjoy this. I got so much out of it. I know other people that rave about it. We can't wait to come and join in this next year. You would really enjoy it.
Yes.
And encourage them that it's not just, I think, that I see something in you. It's more of, for me, I think that you would really find joy and inspiration in this.
Yeah.
And it's different. It's not your same old convention.
Yeah.
It's different. It is uplifting. It is supportive. It is beyond what you would normally think what a convention or an interaction like this would be. And it's inspiring. It really is. And
Mm.
it gets people thinking of, wow, I can do that. I didn't think of that before. And truthfully, I'll say this one thing. True leadership, I think, is just as equally about being able to put yourself out there as much as it is listening. You need to listen to those around you and recognize what they're saying and what their needs are. And that also is inspiring. And that inspires me to create creatively and come up with ideas, just because I'm listening to what people's needs are. And we need to do more of that.
It's so beautiful. Well, and you shared that they're going to be inspired. Like I have a list here of some of the topics. So we have some women who have been invited to speak at Woman Up in the past, who are going to share their story about how when they first got asked, they said no. They were like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not going to go on stage. I'm not going to, I'm not going to open my kimono. And how when they shifted to a yes, when they said, okay, I'm not going to listen to that voice, that limiting voice, I'm going to say yes, how it changed their lives, and how sharing their story and really sharing their voice starts with each one of us saying yes, just like they did. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about launching a business. We have so many women in our community who during the pandemic launched a brokerage. Like,
You know,
what?
I think I know that some people would say, "Ooh, why did they do that?" No, during a downtime is when I'm thinking, what's the next step? This is an
Yes.
opportunity. This is the time that you may have more time to invest and dedicate and research. That's what
Yes.
it's all about. It's not
Yes.
about, don't listen to the naysayers that are, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing that now. It is
Yes.
about listening to that inner self and your intuition,
Yes.
and taking those steps and believing in yourself and
So
doing
true.
doing the
So true.
things that are hard.
Yes. Amen. And so there's going to be lots of inspiration like that. We actually have some amazing women coming in and talking about how they claimed their seat at the boardroom table. So
Mhm.
there's going to be some like coffee conversations around that. And one of the fun things that we're able to do in this virtual environment as well is, we have main sessions between 9 and 12 that are like auditorium sessions, right? But then we also have lunch and learns Tuesday and Wednesday. We may even break that out into Thursday because we have so much interest in the topics that are on the lunch and learn. So we're doing lunch and learns, and then in the mornings on Wednesday and Thursday we have coffee and conversations, which are like breakout sessions where it will be in smaller rooms and having deeper dives into the conversations. Let's see, Tuesday and Wednesday we have takeaways over tea. So, pour yourself a cup of tea, make some iced tea, whatever you want to put in your glass. Uh, but where we can talk about how we take action on the takeaways,
Mhm.
right? How we really do bring those into our lives. And then, of course, the two socials. Woo-hoo! We've got the virtual wine tasting on Tuesday, which is going to be awesome with the Mandavi sisters. And then we're going to have a rooftop social and dance party on Wednesday. And so there's something for everyone. We were able to translate almost every single vision that we had for the in-person in Huntington Beach this year into the virtual world. And it's even on a flippin' island. So we have a beach, right? I mean, it's
That's awesome.
crazy. So for those of you who are thinking, I really want to go, I want to learn more about this scholarship, check out the links that we shared below. Brenda, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to get better connected to you? Maybe they want to schedule a coffee with you during Woman Up at one of the little bistro tables on the beach. How do they reach you?
Absolutely. I used to joke that realtors have their phone number out there more than pretty much anybody. It could almost be, I think my number could be found on a bathroom wall somewhere, but easily.
You
I
said
think
it.
I
You
did
said
say
it.
it. I did say it. But I think that it's easiest to find me on Facebook under my Cozy Cabins Realty company name. You can reach me there. Put in my name, Brenda Meyer, and it'll pop up either way. But yeah, anything that I can do to inspire other people. I mentor quite a few people in business in my local community just to encourage them, and especially women that want to move forward and want to know how to do it. And I think that we all need that. We all need some help and mentorship and ideas. And my story may not be for everyone, but everybody needs to find their own motivation and their own path of whatever works for them. So I'm happy to help.
That's so beautiful. Well, again, thank you for sharing your story. I feel high and low and all the things in between from our time together, and that is the sign of a perfect hour spent together in my book.
Yeah.
So I really do appreciate it. For those of you who want to hear more stories that aren't exactly like Brenda's, but are just as powerful in their own way, or if you are interested in, sharing your story at some point, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to have you join us at the event. You can get your tickets at IamWomanUp.com. Like Brenda said, there's actually a few ways to find the scholarship information on our site. One is under the info page. You can also go under the virtual event and you'll see a link that links right to the scholarship. So you'll find it. If you need that scholarship, if you want to share it with someone, we've got that. Get your swag, get your wine tasting kit, get yourself ready for one of the most spectacular events of 2020, because we are rolling out the digital, I guess we would say the hot pink carpet, because it's not really red. That's not really our color around here. We're black, white, and hot pink. So oh, hot pink. It's like fierce fuchsia, I think is what I have it called, like on the back side of things. Fierce fuchsia. We've got this, ladies. And to everyone who's listening, the women and the men who joined us today, thank you very much. We enjoyed sharing time with you. Reach out to Brenda if you've got questions. I will be back next Wednesday with Sarah and Leslie, and I don't know who our guest is off the top of my head. So watch the stream to find out who that will be. Until then, have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.